Imagine if a patent clerk tried to change the laws of physics. Imagine being able to become a friend with anyone in the world. Imagine your job didn't even exist when you were born. Well, these three things have already happened. That patent clerk changed the world of science forever. His name was Albert Einstein. We can all send a friend request with a click of a button. This was made possible by Mark Zuckerberg. I was born in 1999. YouTube was created in 2005. And in 2018, YouTube became my job. Hello, nice to meet you. My name is Adam Beales. And yep, I really just did that. I compare myself to Mark Zuckerberg and Einstein. Why not? First TED Talk. See, these things that I've laid out are all results of change. Being able to embrace it, live with it, imagine it. I'll give you change. Imagine doing your first TED Talk in front of a bunch of cameras and laptops instead of a real audience. That's a change we probably couldn't have seen coming 12 to 18 months ago. But we adapt, we overcome, and I mean, look, we're all here today. This event is going ahead. Why? Because it's change that makes us versatile. When I say imagine change, what's the first thing that comes to your head? Imagine changing your phone. Imagine changing your car. Imagine changing something you do in everyday life. See, when I say imagine change, we probably all think about these small little changes, almost like New Year's resolutions. Little promises that we like to make to help make life that little bit better. Whether that's to get healthier, get smarter, improve our mental health. Little promises just to better ourselves in some way. I mean, I'm constantly asking myself, imagine eating less packets of crisps every day. My little brother, he's always asking, imagine spending less time playing Xbox. And my mum, well, she's always asking, imagine if I would clean the house more. Still working on that change, but doesn't mean it's not real. But then we go to the other side of the spectrum of change. I like to think about change on this range. The range of change, I like to call it. Imagine if I was a poet. But on one side we have the small little changes to help better our lives in some way. Then we have change on the other side. This is where we have our Mark Zuckerbergs, our Albert Einsteins, our Thomas Edisons, and so on. People on this side made a change to better humanity as a whole. A change that impacted all of our lives as we know it. So we have the small little changes on this side. Then we have the huge, massive changes in the other. But what about the middle? See, these middle changes are the changes that change our own lives the most. So we have the small changes that help us become better people, the big changes, and these middle changes is what changes us. And guess what? These are the scariest changes to make, because no matter how many New Year's resolutions you set yourself, and no matter how many times it took Thomas Edison to light a bulb, it's these middle changes that impact us the most. I'm talking about changes that affect you for the rest of your life. Changes that set you on a different path. Changes that are very hard to undo. And to be honest, when I first decided to take this TED Talk, I was a bit skeptical on what people would think because of my age and because I'm a bit younger than other TED speakers that I've seen in the past. But that doesn't mean I don't have a story to tell. These big middle changes that we're scared to make often get dismissed by these series of statements. Oh, it's too risky. I don't have the time. Maybe another day. I'm comfortable where I am. I don't need to do it. What do I get from it? Oh, sure, it's already been done. Oh, would you wise up? That's never going to happen. Well, I've got news for you. Change is never going to happen with that attitude. Wise up. Now, what would you say if I said, imagine a child, right? This child goes to school, he's doing great at school, getting on great with friends, he's excelling in all of his subjects, so much so, in fact, that he got 11 A stars at GCSE. What would you say? Well, you'd probably say, okay, well, this is very clearly a young academic person who has their head screwed on. Fair enough. Now, what would you say if I said that young academic person sacrificed all of that to start a YouTube channel? What would you say now? Well, you'd probably say, okay, well, this is very clearly a stupid young person who doesn't have their head screwed on. Trust me, I've been called worse. That child that I was talking about is, in fact, me. Someone who was once very academic, going places, had the likes of Oxford and Harvard University in their crosshairs. What made me want to go from that to uploading videos online? See, change means something. It means going from point A to point B. But it's this transition that scares people. How was I ever going to tell my teachers that I didn't really fancy the likes of Oxford or Cambridge, never mind wanting to go to university at all? How was I going to tell my parents? How do I explain that? How, what, when? It's in this moment that inhibits change, the fear of change. But what if we didn't fear change at all? Why are we not telling our children the exact same theme of this TED Talk? Imagine change. Why as a society have we accepted this traditional flow of passage where we go to school, go to university, and get a job somewhere? Now, what I'm not saying is that all kids should just drop out of school and become YouTubers. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is for kids to open their eyes more. But let's rewind a second. What if I told you that stupid young person who threw his life away, 2 years later bought his mum and dad the house of their dreams, bought himself his dream car, became a host in one of the longest running kids' TV programs on the planet, and invested so much so into property that he wouldn't have to worry about paying his mum and dad their wages to leave their full-time jobs? What would you say now? You know what? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter because you judged him. You judged him based solely on that change he committed to. You didn't give him the chance. And it's this problem why we don't have more young people asking themselves, imagine change. It's that judgment that makes imagining change even harder. The funny thing is that making a change brings about more change. There's a lot of change in these sentences, if you haven't noticed already. For example, I didn't think I would ever be stood here on this red dot. And you know what? I want to feel this red dot. That's that off the bucket list. I also didn't think I'd be stood here caressing carpet during my first TED Talk, but there you go. But now I'm going to throw a spanner in the works that made me want to imagine change all the time in everything that I do, breathe, work on. And it was this. What if instead of being afraid of change, we feared complacency? The complacency of the norm is what I'm scared of. And it's why I have this constant battle with myself to always be thinking on my toes, always trying to be better. I know that if I ever get comfortable, I'm doing something wrong. I know these middle changes are the scariest to make, but they're also the hardest to carry through with personally. It takes a lot of guts to imagine change in a world where there's now lots of judgment, both online and offline. So, I salute you. To all those people who went through one of those middle changes in your lives, you have my respect. Because a lot of the time, these people made the leap before they could even see the safety net. We have to imagine change before we begin to move toward it. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk.